I am your host, Eric Smith. We're jumping right into my favorite horror with writer, director, effects guy, jack of all trades, and my not so secret crush, Mike Lombardo.
Well, hello. Also, my not so secret crush, Eric. It's always good to be back. Every time that I get to webcam with you, it's always an entertaining 2 to 70 minutes. So
It's always fun, but we haven't talked in quite a while.
this is true.
You're incredibly busy with the day job.
Yes, I run fulfillment at a major retailer right now, and it's Christmas time. So when I got promoted, I knew this day would come, but I didn't expect it to be quite as insane as it is. So 12-hour days for me.
Yeah, I'm too old for that.
Me too.
I worked at a major retailer for a year as an overnight stalker.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was 1 year was more than enough. I'm happy to be back at the factory building transformers.
Oh.
But I can't remember. Did we ever talk about Alien Phalanx?
No, I actually haven't read it yet. I have it. The missus bought it for me. Shit, it came out 2 years ago now, a year ago.
It's been a while, yeah.
And she, whenever it first came out, whatever either personal or private holiday or whatever it was around that time, she bought it for me, and I was so excited that I put it in a pile, and it is literally covered in dust.
Mine has dust on it, but I have read it.
Is it good?
I really dig it. It's so different.
Yeah, that's what I was excited about. It seems there's actually I've read. I'm trying to think which other Alien books I just finished. I read Cold Forge. I read shit. What are the other new ones? There was
all right. If I can read far enough away, Into Charybdis.
That I didn't hear about. Prototype I have. I didn't read that yet. What's Into Charybdis? Like Scylla and Charybdis?
It is first came out in hardback, which was the first I'd seen.
Yeah, there's a couple of the Titan ones have been doing hardback.
And I think I'm not 100% sure because I can't read it from here. I think it's the same guy that did Cold Forge.
Oh, okay.
And I also have Infiltrator.
Oh, that's the prequel to the new game. That game sucks, right? By the way, if you haven't played it yet. It's not good.
I don't have a gaming system, so
I don't play many games, despite what we're going to be talking about tonight. I actually don't play a lot of video games these days, but yeah, I picked that up the day it came out because I was like, well, I'm not into like multiplayer games. We're talking about Aliens Fireteam Elite for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about. But I was like, you know what? It's only like $30 with my discount. It was cheaper. So I'm like, I'll pick it up. I played it for about 2 hours and it's been sitting ever since. And I don't have any desire to play it again. It's not good.
Well, the most recent Alien book I've picked up is the Alien 3.
Yes, the novelization of the script.
The novelization of William Gibson's unproduced script.
Yeah, I had the comic hardback and I did not care for it at all. So I was like, I wonder if the novelization, because the comic, it just felt so abbreviated. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. So I would love to read the original Alien 3 screenplay about the wooden planet and the monastery and all that shit. I would love to read any of the other Alien 3 scripts. Not super interested in the Cold War politics one, but I mean, I did see that was out and I'll probably end up buying it.
So there might be just one of the new ones that I don't have yet. But I have to like take pictures of the books I have to take with me to the bookstore so that I don't too many times I've bought something I already have.
Yep.
And I just pass them on to my nephew then, but I try to avoid that because I don't have that kind of money.
Yep.
And I can't remember
Alien Isolation. I bought the novelization of that and just read that a couple months ago.
See, I might have that one. Do you know which one the Tim Wagner is?
Was that wasn't one of the, wait, no, that's, I have it right here. That's, Prototype.
Okay.
I didn't read it yet.
I believe I have that. I don't know. But something I'm 99% certain you do have and have played, because I tried to scoop you. I forgot where you were working. Alien Fate of the Nostromo.
Yes, I've played it once.
And what did you think?
I liked it a lot. The one time I got to play it, it was very cool. The mechanics of it are really. I was not expecting something so in depth for a casual board game, but it's more in depth than a game like Zombies, but it's not as complicated as like Call of Cthulhu or something where it. So
Right.
there's a learning curve, but it's not. It's very accessible, which I think is a cool thing. I bought it so I can play with my nephews, and they haven't been able to come over. So
Well, that publisher, and I believe it's Ravensburger,
yes,
and I also believe they're the ones with a 6-month exclusive with Target. Um, but the stuff that they've put out that I've played has been really good. They did Horrified, which is super popular, and I can't wait to get the Cryptids
yeah, I
version.
just saw that. Yeah, the Cryptids one.
But I hear the Jaws game is really good.
Mhm.
I hear that the Back to the Future one is really good.
There's a Goonies one.
There's the Goonies one that's just out. I don't remember if they're the ones doing the Rocketeer game.
Oh wow.
Um,
Uh,
and I have the Wonder Woman game that they made. I enjoy that.
I didn't even see that one.
But yeah, they're not super simple. You know, it's complicated enough to be engaging without being overly complicated and just a slog.
Yeah, the Alien one, I was really impressed with just the quality of the game, the pieces, the figurines. Like, you can absolutely this is fucking Harry Dean Stanton. Like, you can tell with events. It's like a little. I'm like, I was really impressed. All the card art is really good. When I opened the packaging and saw that the internal flimsy cardboard that you just put, the dice go on this little recessed spot and the cards go here, was the same texture as the wall in the living quarters of the Nostromo. I was like, wow,
Yeah,
that's how you get me. Packaging is everything for me, and I love that they went the extra mile and did that.
Did you play it with the Ash?
I did. I wanted to play it just regularly so I could get used to it, and then I want to play with it. But again, I haven't. I played it once with Lex. I forced her to play it with me, and then I haven't had time since. It's been sitting on my couch because I figure if I keep it in the spot that I'm going to be, then I'll be like, I'm going to play this, and I haven't.
So far, I've only played it once, but it's one that I want to get to the table again.
Yeah, it's good. I was really happy with it. It's good. What I liked is that it was actually Alien and not Aliens, because everything is Aliens, which I love. But this was uniquely the original movie, and all the cards and the art, everything was super specific. And I love that they actually incorporated the mechanics of the game are straight out of the original movie. You have to get the oxygen tanks to qualify for a mission, or to finish the missions and stuff, and then the self-destruct sequence, all that stuff is super accurate, and I'm like, wow, they really love this movie, and that's just really cool.
And the alien is stalking you, and you can build equipment, you can build the
motion tracker, the
motion tracker, and if you can make the cat cage to catch Jonesy.
I love that Jonesy is literally a jump scare in the game too.
Yes. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Let's see, what else haven't we talked about in a while? I picked up Phantasm 5 film collection.
Very nice.
With a glow in the dark cover.
Very nice.
I dig it. And I picked up the Phantasm Exhumed book.
Excellent. Yes, that book is phenomenal. Although the Phantasm Ravager compendium companion that they put out separately is also really good. It's a lot shorter, but really interesting stuff if you're into Phantasm Ravager. That's a very polarizing movie, but I'm a diehard, so I love it.
Well, I had read Taking Shape by the same author, which is about all the Halloween films. And even though I'm not a huge Halloween fan, it's not of the major slashers, Friday the 13th is my favorite.
Yeah.
But I enjoy the Halloween movies well enough, and I really dug that book. So I was excited to get the Phantasm one.
Yeah, I'm a little bummed that the only interview that's not in it is Coscarelli, because it's an unauthorized book, which I don't understand, because then Rue Morgue did the authorized Phantasm Companion, and it was literally the same stories but less detailed, and it wasn't as interesting. I was like, wow, this is kind of shitty. But it's got Coscarelli in it, so I'm like, I don't know why. I guess they paid him to do that, and the other, I don't know. But
But I have Coscarelli's. I have. What's that?
I mean, it's got the unauthorized book is infinitely better, like every conceivable. It even has a foreword by Angus Scrimm. But if you have True Indie, which I think was what you were about to say,
Yeah.
there's plenty of stories. If you get the Phantasm box set, like there's loads of extras on all of the stuff. Like there's so much out there about Phantasm. This is a wonderful. I got to meet him finally, Coscarelli, a few years ago when he did the True Indie book tour. I lost my mind, man. Like the guy has been such a huge inspiration to me. And like what I love about Phantasm Ravager was that they went back to their roots and just did like a scrappy guerrilla style shoot with like 3 people. I mean, yeah, it looks like shit. I'm not going to say it doesn't, but the spirit of it is classic Phantasm, and they were just having fun with it. And I love that. That made it's so endearing watching that movie and reading about the behind the scenes of it. Like it's really, really heartwarming stuff.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to digging into that book. And I believe you read, I think it's called Seeking Perfection.
Yes, I actually am watching the Tremors Blu-ray from Arrow right now that has a commentary by the same author. Great fucking book. Super good.
I have that book. I have not read it yet, but I did read It's a Kind of Magic by the same author, which is about Highlander.
Okay.
Which I thought was really good. So I really enjoyed that book. A lot of detail.
Yep.
A lot of great stuff. So that just makes me look forward even more to reading the Tremors one. And I have a box set of the Tremors movies, the first 4, I think.
Yeah, the attack pack is 4.
And see, but now I want to get the Arrow.
The Arrow. Well, so the Arrow Blu-ray is fucking. First off, it's beautiful. Like I just watched it last night. It is gorgeous. The transfer. There are so many extras. There's a commentary with the 2 writers and the director. Commentary with the author of that book. There's a feature-length documentary about the making of the movie. There's like a shit ton of interviews with everyone that are outside of that. There's just my big thing. Whenever I see a special edition release, if it has VHS footage of like behind the scenes, because all those movies are that old, they were shot on camcorders behind the scenes of the effects workshop, that's an instant buy for me. And there's a whole section of that, like them of Tom Woodruff Jr. and Alec Gillis building the graboids. So I'm an effects guy, so like that's like
right.
I fucking love that. When I saw the K&B had a whole section on the Scream Factory Army of Darkness Blu-ray where it was just like an hour of behind the scenes, like just in their shop. It literally brought me to tears watching them making the props and stuff. Same with the Hellraiser documentary Leviathan. There was all the extras with like just the Image Entertainment guys just building the suits and stuff. And I was so overwhelmed with emotion that I had tears in my eyes watching that stuff.
I love the whole reason I still have physical media essentially is for the extras.
Mm-hmm.
And just looking up on my shelf, and I can't read it, but I know that I'm looking at the Arrow editions of Hellraiser and Hellraiser 2 right up there.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a ton of Scream Factory stuff.
Very nice.
Last year when they had their COVID sale,
mm-hmm.
I was home from work. I had been laid off. And I got a lot of Scream Factory stuff because I want those extras.
They're great. Arrow is the king. Like Arrow is by far the higher quality and I have a multi-region player, so I buy a lot of the Arrow UK stuff too. Just absolutely phenomenal. The Tremors, actually I have it. Oh, it's downstairs. Wait, no, it's not. It's right. Wait, right here. This is the actual Blu-ray is downstairs, but this is it's like a hard case, nice. And then it's got a fold-out poster. It comes with a book. Like it's just gorgeous. Then there's all these posters and stuff in here. There's actually a coupon for Chang's Market, for like 10% off one item if it's purchased on like a Tuesday or a Thursday between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. Like it's just fucking
Perfect.
hilarious stuff. But they went like so far into detail with all the stuff. And then I got the limited edition, so it's got a bonus disc that has some of Ron Underwood's original short films and stuff on it, and like extended interviews. So like it's so I literally screamed out loud when I saw that when they announced it. Actually, I was just wearing my Tremors hoodie, as a matter of fact, when I got home from work. So I'm a huge Tremors geek. Can't say enough good things about that book too.
I saw Tremors in the theater when it was brand new, and I could watch it.
I rented it.
I could watch it over and over and over. I have watched it over and over and over again. I absolutely love that film. The Blu-ray that I want, sort of my brass ring, and it's available. I just have not had the money to get it. I think it's still available. But it's one that just recently came out, is Massacre at Central High.
What is it?
Massacre at Central High.
I've never seen that.
Wow. It is one that I would watch constantly on HBO when I was a kid.
Okay.
And it's got the Carradine that's in Revenge of the Nerds. I can never remember which is which Carradine is which. And other people whose names I can't remember, but it's basically this this new kid moves to this high school, Central High, and he's an outsider. He's getting picked on by the rich kids, but he's friends from back in the day with one of like the head rich kid guy. But it's like a really shitty school. People are always being picked on, lots of bullying, and a couple of the rich kids try to rape this girl, and the new guy beats the shit out of him. So they go to his place. He's working. He's underneath a car working on it. They knock the car down on his legs and mess him up. And then he just starts killing them off in wonderful ways. But then all the kids that were being bullied, now that the bullies are being killed, they start bullying. So it just shows sort of this endless cycle.
Okay.
And I mean, I can understand why it was not released for a long time.
Yeah.
During certain decades, but
yes.
It just recently got a Blu-ray release. And I just have not had the money to pick it up because it's rather expensive. I don't recall. It's not Arrow. It's not Vinegar Syndrome.
Is it Code Red? That sounds like something Code Red would put out.
I don't know. Let's see if I can.
I'd say Code Red, maybe Kino Lorber, maybe.
Massacre at Central High Blu-ray. Something went wrong. Let's try it again. Massacre at Central High Blu-ray. Let's see. Blu-ray DVD limited edition Synapse.
Oh wow, okay.
According to this,
that's nice. I didn't think the Synapse is supposed to put out a Deadly Spawn Blu-ray. I've been waiting for that for a good long while.
Yeah, Massacre at Central High Blu-ray DVD limited edition 4,000-piece steelbook, $46.
Yikes.
Andrew Stevens, Robert Carradine. Only 88 minutes. Available now. But yeah, I'll spend the money when I have it.
Yeah.
I don't know how well you can see this.
Oh, okay. I know that cover. Yeah.
But yeah, I loved that movie. Watched it constantly whenever it was on HBO, and so yeah, that's sort of been my white whale of things to pick up. But I don't have the depth of knowledge that you do when it comes to more obscure pictures.
That's the thing, man. I actually envy people that haven't seen a lot of this stuff because you get to watch it again. You get to see it for the first time. And like with the internet and stuff now, it's so much easier to find this shit. Because, you know, if it wasn't on TV or it wasn't at the video store, it's like it didn't exist. And then when I got a little bit older, I would go to horror conventions and, you know, buy bootleg VHS tapes. That's why I saw Battle Royale when it first came out. It was bootleg. I bought a video of that, having no idea what it was. And then, you know, it's just crazy, some of this stuff. But I love introducing people to new things. It makes me very happy. I just love that all these movies are getting another chance at life because of physical media. Like they would have completely disappeared. Something I just picked up that I'm super fucking excited about is Ticks on Blu-ray.
Yeah, I saw that. You know,
I'm like, look at that. It's got Clint Howard on the back, who hopefully I'll be meeting on Friday. I'm very excited about that. Lex got me that as an early Christmas gift. He was like, I love Ticks, like hardcore love that. The fact that that movie got a 4K release just makes me so happy.
It's incredible.
Yeah, like
living in the golden age.
Yeah, what a time to be alive is what I always say.
And doing this particular show, I've rewatched a lot of stuff for, you know, things that people have picked, but some of the stuff people have picked are things I haven't seen. And so I've gone out and bought copies that I could find, or watch them on Shudder or whatever else I have to watch them on. But I've watched more movies in the past couple of months because of doing this show than I have probably in 2 years.
That's great.
And I actually just last week was interviewing someone about Aliens. They picked the second one. And when we were talking, I was like, you know, I was watching this and I got this feeling a couple of times that I wish this was the first time I was seeing it.
Yep.
Because I know what's coming. And I sort of miss, as much as I still love this movie, I miss that thrill of seeing it for the first time.
I got to show my nephews that movie. They had a sleepover the one night and we watched Aliens, and they're on the couch opposite me, and I just kept looking over. They go like this every time something would happen, and it was so wonderful to see because like they were gradually creeping closer and closer to literally the edge of their seat by the end. And the scene when the Queen Alien is first revealed, I literally tear up every time I watch it because it just makes me feel like a 7-year-old again. And it's like, I don't even know what to do. I'm like, how the fuck are they going to get out of this? And like, I forget that I've seen the movie 1,000 times, but it's so amazing. I love that. The magic comes back for that little brief moment. It's great.
I've got a box set for that with the 4 movies. There's 2 versions of each movie.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the theatrical cut for Aliens. So I've never seen the special edition cut.
The extended cut, yeah. It's got some interesting stuff, but it does drag.
Well, that's what I don't know if you're familiar with Jason Brandt. He's the one that I was interviewing. And he had watched the special edition, so he's like, yeah, he said, I wish I would have watched the theatrical because there are some rocky parts in here. But I had forgotten. I'm almost 99.92% sure. There is no mention of Ripley's daughter in the theatrical cut.
There is no mention at all.
Yeah.
That's something that I love about the extended version, that they have that sequence, because it really does ground the second half of the movie with Newt and everything. But the other scenes they add, like seeing what happens to Newt's family in the beginning, like it's unnecessary. The sentry gun scene is neat, but they mean that was really just fodder for the video games. That's what they pulled for the video games. But like, it's not. I watched the theatrical, and even the theatrical I wish was about 10 minutes shorter. Like there's some scenes that really could be trimmed down in that too. But you know, I still love the movie. Like it's a masterpiece either way.
It's great. What else have I? Oh, let me ask you this. I don't know if have you seen Malignant?
I have not.
All right. I'm gonna find someone who will talk about it with me.
There's plenty of people, I'm sure.
I loved that movie.
Yeah.
It is. I know it's kind of polarizing. I know people on both ends. I loved it. It's just crazy fun.
Okay.
I thought it was great. So that's getting my recommendation. So that's one I watched on my own. But for the show, again, I've watched like Terrifier. I had
Okay.
not seen before. And then Terrified, which is
I have not seen.
Argentinian film. Oh, so good.
Yeah.
So
Okay. I
good.
heard good things
Um,
about
I I watched it and I said, here comes the strong language. I finished watching it and I said, the Conjuring films can go fuck themselves.
it.
Um, what else? Trying to think. Got to rewatch the original Fright Night,
Very good.
The Burbs. Um, I can't remember all of them. I'm not going to sit here and list. But what have you seen recently that sticks out?
I haven't watched anything like new. I've watched. I'm just chewing through the giant pile of Blu-rays that I've purchased. I just watched the entire Fly box set from the originals, the Return of the Fly, Curse the Fly, then the Cronenberg remake and the sequel. That's the most recent thing I finished. Oh, I watched this last night actually. Rent-A-Pal. This movie is
Okay.
fucking great. It's about this lonely schlub who does it's like set in the 90s. He's doing like a video dating service, and he buys this VHS tape called Rent-A-Pal, and it's just like a guy like having a conversation with you, and he kind of becomes like emotionally dependent on it. He's also taking care of his mother who has dementia, and it's a really sad movie. But he starts going crazy, obviously. But it's really, really good. Good friend Samantha Koliesnik, she recommended it to me, and she said that there are entire sequences out of there that were straight out of the short film I'd done, My Friend Lawrence, and the new project I'm hopefully going to be working on, Dead Format, which is something that we had talked about a lot. She's like, this is literally like a combination of those two things, and I was like, no way. And I watched it, and I'm like, holy shit. I went back to like my script notes, and I'm like, oh my god, there's like literally this is the exact same. Some of the stuff is so similar, so I was like, okay, at least I know it works, so that's cool. But it's really, really good movie. I was very, very impressed with that. It came out like last year. Definitely recommend it. It's very twisted.
Cool. All right. Anything else you just want to throw out there before we get to the main subject here?
Well, yeah, real quick, I have some cool news. There's a documentary that I'm the star of, The Brilliant Terror. They filmed me for a decade on set of my films, and I was interviewed throughout all the high and low points of my life and career thus far. That is finally getting a U.S. release. It's the New York City Horror Film Festival, I think December 4th through the 6th. It's streaming because of COVID, so tickets are available right now. Check it out. I'm told that it's heartbreaking and hilarious and endearing. I'm not the only person in it, so don't worry. I'm just the main feature of it, but lots of other great filmmakers, behind the scenes footage. If you like my movie The Stall, it's extensive behind the scenes on The Stall. If you're not tired of listening to the ramble yet, you certainly will be by the end of that one. We world premiered at Fright Fest in London, which is Arrow's film festival, which I lost my fucking shit. Couldn't make it because I didn't get my passport in time, unfortunately. But
Right.
Apparently Arrow loved it, so that's really cool to hear. So it's been getting really good reviews. Check it out. Hopefully there's more festivals coming up, but I can't say anything yet because they haven't announced. But it will be out there. There are worse ways to spend an hour and 20 minutes of your life.
All right. Well, I was going to save that till the end of this, but I guess no. But I do have to say this isn't going to go up for a few weeks.
Okay.
So, that film fest may have come and gone by the time people see this, but we'll talk more about it at the end.
Very good.
I always like to save the new stuff for at the end, keep it fresh in people's minds.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I will ask this before we jump in. How long has I'm Dreaming of a White Doomsday been out?
Actually, I think it's gonna turn 4 years old here this month. It's crazy. Like it came out, 4 years, I think now.
I was thinking 2.
Yeah, that's how it feels for me. Actually, it feels like a lifetime, but yeah, it's I can't believe it either. We had our big release signing at FYE here in Lancaster going 3 years ago, I think, or 4. I think it's 3 years ago.
Wow.
I don't remember. I think it's 3 years.
Well, it's a
Yeah,
great Christmas movie. It's that time of year.
tis the season to duck and cover.
I've still got my stocking since I
Beautiful.
bought the special little package
Yeah,
there.
that's sold out in like 2 hours. You were one of the lucky few.
Yeah, well, hey, you know I was going to jump on that. All right. So before we get into our main feature, I'm going to do a fake ad
Okay.
because I don't have sponsors. So I'm just going to keep doing fake ads until someone agrees to sponsor me and either sends me money or sends me something. Some free stuff, swag, I don't know. But so I picked something I thought would go with what we're going to be talking about.
Mhm.
I considered doing the Alien Fate of the Nostromo, but that didn't, because we're both fans of it, but it didn't quite fit. So this episode of My Favorite Horror With is not sponsored by Mansions of Madness,
Ooh.
second edition from Fantasy Flight Games. There's the back of it. I don't
That's
know
a
how well that
badass
comes
Cthulhu.
through. This is an app-driven game for 1 to 5 players, and the reason I think it goes with what we're going to be talking about is you download the app. There's 4 or 5 different scenarios. It's Lovecraftian horror, and the app will tell you, pick the scenario you want to play, and the app will tell you, lay out these 3 tiles, put these tokens in these spots, and then you pick your characters and you get some cards, equipment, and items and stuff, and you put all that into the app, and then you have I think 2 actions each, so you can move, you can interact with stuff, and so you get to a space with a token, and you hit that token on the app, and it will tell you what it is, and if there's a person, that person will talk to you,
Oh, that's cool.
and there's atmospheric music, and when you get to a door, it will tell you hit the thing on the app, and then it will say, okay, you've opened the door, lay out these tiles because this is now what you can see, and put these tokens down. And there are puzzles, like literal puzzles in the app that you have to figure out combinations or just different things, and you have just a certain number of tries before you failed, and you have to wait till your next turn to try it again. And meanwhile, monsters are showing up, and
Sounds awesome.
it's really really cool. There are expansions for it, and you can buy, like, some of them are small. You just get a little box with some extra figures and cards and a code to download the content to the
Okay.
app. So that gives you everything you need. Um, I believe they're no longer doing any new stuff for it, but there's no new content coming out, but it is still available. You can still get the expansions and stuff, but it's a lot of fun. That's the second edition, Mansions of Madness. The first edition didn't have the app, and one player had to run the game,
Yeah, that's how a lot of those types of
and
games
all
are.
the other ones. But with the app, everybody's an investigator.
So the app basically becomes the dungeon master.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's our non-sponsor for this episode. Um, Mansions of Madness Second Edition Fantasy Flight. Come on, Fantasy Flight, hook a brother up.
Maybe they'll send you the new Doom board game they did that I would love to own, but not for $80.
Yeah, they are. I have quite a few Fantasy Flight games. I love them, but yeah, they tend to be on the pricier side.
They are nice though. It's worth it. It's just a lot of scratch.
Yeah. All right. So now we will get into the main event. I This is new for me. We're going to be talking about a PC game.
Mm-hmm.
So normally I have a spoiler warning. Do we need are things going to be spoiled?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
I don't know how many people are actually gonna go out and find this game. I mean, you can get it on GOG and Steam now, so I'll try not to spoil too much. I'll just give more of an overview of what it is. But there's definitely going to be some spoilers, probably.
I do, like, when we're talking about movies and books, I always say spoiler warning. If you're worried about spoilers, pause this video In this case, go play the game first and then come back and watch us. So with all of that, your choice was
the 1996 horror game that you've probably never heard of, but is now becoming a little infamous now that it's with the advent of YouTube. Harvester, which is to date the most fucked up and disturbing video game of all time. It is an FMV game, which means full motion video, which my favorite type of game. It's a point and click adventure game, basically, from the 90s. So if you're an old fuck like me and you remember that they would film actors on green screens and then use animated backgrounds.
See, I did not know when you told me, you said FMV, and I did not know what that meant. Then you sent me a link to a playthrough, so I could become at least passingly familiar with the game. I freaked. I was like, what the hell is happening? When you see a living person sit up in this video world and put his shirt on, it's like, what the hell am I watching?
It was the wave of the future in video games back in the mid 90s. The most notable was Phantasmagoria, and then Phantasmagoria 2, A Puzzle of Flesh, which they were kind of the first like really adult like PC games. There was a lot of sex in them, a lot of really adult themes. Like Phantasmagoria 2, A Puzzle of Flesh actually has one of the main characters, his best friends, is gay. So there's like a whole section of that. And the main character himself is bisexual. So there's like a level where you're in a BDSM club. So they were very, very adult games, and people were not used to that. Like people were used to playing like Mario and shit like that. And these were like very, very adult games. The Gabriel Knight games, or the Beast Within was another huge one. One of my personal favorites, Blood Wings, Pumpkinhead 2, has a FMV game that is just absolutely atrocious. Actually, I had it as a kid. It's like a bad Doom knockoff where you like, it's like a maze shooter, and then you randomly interact with clips from the movie, and then Pumpkinhead attacks you. I sent an email to Jeff Burr, who directed the movie, because I met him and started a correspondence with him from a convention at film festival a few years ago. And I sent him a picture, and his reply was, "Why the fuck did you buy that?" It's just terrible, but super fun. But I grew up with the FMV games. They were just my favorite things in the world. Because it's like it's the intersection between movies and video games. And Harvester, the best way I can describe Harvester to someone who is unfamiliar with it is if Twin Peaks was directed and written by Jeffrey Dahmer, that would be what this game is. The basic premise: you wake up in 1950s sitcom America with amnesia. You're the main character, Steve, and you have no idea who you are, what's going on. All you know is that you are now living in like a sitcom world, and something is very, very wrong. So throughout the game, you just kind of wander around town. You can free roam through the town and talk to people and interact with them. And these people include a paper boy who every morning you need, because the game is divided by days of the week, you have to bring the newspaper out to the paper boy, or he will pull out a gun and shoot you. You can go to speak to the mortician, the local mortician, who
wears a top hat.
Yeah, wears a top hat. It was actually the director of the game, G.P. Austin, Gilbert Austin, who has some questionable business practices of varying levels of depravity that I'm not going to get into on here. But you can go to the military base, or the Nike missile silo, where all the nuclear missiles are guarded by a World War II vet who had his lower half shot off in the war, and he has the button to launch the nukes underneath his torso. He walks on his hands, and when you speak to him, if you say the wrong thing, he calls you a commie, and then shoots you, and then launches the nuclear missiles and causes the nuclear holocaust. But the game is just so fucking bizarre. Like the whole point is you're trying to figure out who you are, and you find out you have a fiance, and you find that she also has amnesia and has no fucking idea where they are or anything. And when I say that this game is twisted, like I cannot warn you enough. This game is, and that look on your face says that you skimmed that video at least. Like,
I thought about jumping around in the video, the link that you sent me, but I just started watching it. And it's over 5 hours. I'm not that far into it, but I am going to watch more of it because, yeah, it's wild. And I did realize that we can't talk about this like it's a movie. We can't break it down in that sort of way because whatever I'm watching isn't the experience that you had.
yes, because it's you can go and do whatever you want whenever you want. So everything is very, very different.
One of the things I did not know that you could do was because so in the game, as you said, you're walking around, you're interacting with things. When you interact with a person, there's dialogue, and it will give you choices on what you say. What I had never seen before, and we'll get to that in a second, but was that you could type in something. You could type in your own
Yes, you can.
thing and get responses from that. Now, a lot of times in what I saw, it was them saying, I don't understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But
there's
occasionally,
a few choice moments that if I don't know if you saw this, but if you go up to your mother who is in the kitchen constantly baking.
I was going to bring this up if it's the same thing I'm thinking of.
Yes, so if you type in the word fuck,
Yes.
your mom will turn you and say, "Ooh, you know, that's awfully tempting, but I have baking to do."
Yes. I was like, what is happening? She's like, well, your father's out of commission or something like that. Maybe later.
It's so bad. Like, this game is loaded to the gills with graphic gore, violence, sex.
I haven't gotten to any of that yet.
Oh, dude, it is so, like, it is the most disgusting game ever made, like, by far. You can actually walk up to any NPC in the game and you can kill them. You can take out a gun and blow their head off if you want. And it's all like it's movie special effects because it's live action stuff. So the paper boy, he's like a 7-year-old kid. You can take a pitchfork and you can like rip his intestines out, and then you'll get arrested, and then they'll execute you. You'll get the electric chair.
Come on, he said the sheriff did say you get 3 strikes. Come on.
Yeah, well, depending on what you do, and there's ways later that you can get a for lack of a better term, a get out of jail free card with some blackmail. The game encourages you to do all sorts of terrible things.
I was wondering if maybe you could get Loomis on your side by getting him some of those French postcards.
I will say nothing more.
Okay. What I wanted to say was I have never played a PC game. This is a thing that passed me by. I essentially went from Pong with the dial, the controller in the middle of the thing, and that was the only game that was on that console. To Atari, Nintendo, and then for a long time didn't play any types of video games till I got to like Sega and then eventually Xbox. So I've never played this type of game. And my horror game experience is relegated to Call of Cthulhu
Dark Corners of the Earth.
Yes.
Fucking phenomenal game.
Which is fantastic. I love it when you're going insane. And I never did get to the point where apparently if you don't fix it, you commit suicide.
Yep.
So yeah, I played that, loved that. And then there was another game which I feel like I played on PSP, and I don't remember the name of it. I believe I played the sequel, but you're breaking out of, I think you're in an asylum at the beginning, and you're breaking out, or you find your cell is open. But throughout the game, it's a stealth game, and you're just killing people left and right, trying to figure out what the hell's going on. It might be some big government conspiracy. And I think I had the censored version where the kills would fade to white.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about Manhunt. Manhunt 2 specifically.
Yeah.
Yes. Manhunt is my the second most fucked up game ever made. In the first one, you were actually in a snuff movie. You were a convicted death row inmate, and then instead of giving you lethal injection, this director has paid them to tranquilize you instead. You wake up in an abandoned part of town, and then you find out that you're in a snuff movie, and he hired a whole bunch of gangs to hunt you down. So then you get rewarded for killing people as graphically as possible.
Yep.
It's from Rockstar, one of the darkest games I have ever played. The sequel, Manhunt 2, you're a mental patient, and they did censor the shit out of that game, which is really, I mean, the second level is called Sexual Deviance, and you're in an S&M club, so they were definitely trying to push buttons at that point, because the first one took a lot of heat. This is back in the Grand Theft Auto controversy era, too. Second one's not nearly as good, although the sequel is now available uncensored. You can buy it for the PC, you can download it. But yeah, both excellent games. Super highly recommended.
All right, well, let's get back to Harvester.
Yes.
So what I saw, we'll just go over that really quickly because it's not much. And the one thing I didn't know was whether or not you programmed the name in, but obviously you have said it's Steve.
Yes.
So it's Steve. So in the video that I was watching, he wakes up, talks to his mom, and it gets really creepy. And talks to his little brother, who's watching
cowboy shows.
Yeah. Then I think he went to Stephanie's, his fiance.
Mm-hmm.
Talks to her dad, who's obsessed with meat.
Yep, he's got portraits of it, just raw meat on the walls.
Yeah. And so right off the bat, these characters are so weird because he just keeps talking. No matter what you say to him, it always seems to come back around to meat. Mind your dad about the meat. Make sure I get the meat. And then he goes and talks to Stephanie's mom, who's wearing pearls in the dress and everything. And I think Steve kind of points out, just like my mom.
Yep, they all look the same.
Baking. I was waiting for sexual stuff to go on there too.
Trust me, there's plenty of it. There's plenty of it involving the father. There's one particularly upsetting sequence with the dad and you and your fiance that I'm not going to get into, but
then in this one, he goes up to the bathroom, which was just like the first thing whoever was doing this run through, they clicked on the tub, and it was like the entire surface is covered in hair, cut hairs, whatever. I'm like, oh, that's just disgusting. And then I think there was something else he clicked on, that the sink was like covered in toothpaste and pubic hair and something else.
Yep. And then if you click on I think there's a picture or something, a portrait on the wall in the bathroom. Yep. You can slide it aside, and it's a peephole into his daughter's bedroom where he watches.
It's a crooked picture. So they did show that, and that's some live action stuff. And then in this, he goes and talks to Stephanie, finds out that she also has amnesia. She's being essentially kept prisoner. She wants to escape the town. Everybody's obsessed with the lodge. Then this guy went to the burned down paper.
Yeah, the post office.
Yep. Went to the firehouse, which was rather amusing. I'm so glad that dog didn't keep barking the entire time.
Yep.
That would have driven me crazy. Went to the funeral home. And then he goes to the funeral home and he talks to Moynihan, or whatever his name is. And then immediately went to the motel, and Moynihan is there and basically like, I don't remember word for word, but essentially was like, I just talked to you, leave me alone.
Yep.
And then that might be where I had to pause it. So like not a lot of stuff, just meeting people. He went to the Wasp Woman's place.
Oh, that's the Wasp Woman.
Which immediately, as soon as I saw Wasp Woman, because you had said Twin Peaks and Jeffrey Dahmer, I'm like, oh, the log lady. So yeah, at this point, it's just been a lot of walking around and talking to people in what I've seen.
It's it starts off just mildly weird, and then it gets creepy, and then it gets troubling, and then it just gets hideously violent. It is so fucking disgusting. Like, I cannot prepare you for how disgusting this game gets. Like, it is, I have never, in 34 years, I've never played anything quite like it. Like, they just went so fucking far with everything. I mean, we're talking incest, cannibalism, pedophilia, like just anything you can imagine that would upset people is in this game somewhere. Like, it is so fucking disgusting. And it's just, it's trying to fuck with your head so much. I mean, it's never like encouraging any of these things, obviously. Actually, I don't want to get too far into the reveal anything about the plot later on in the game, but all of these things actually serve a very, very important point as to what the game is actually about. It's a very satirical game, and especially for the time period it came out, it gets very meta at the end, which I also love. But it's just super fucked up. Like, I can't. Like, so my friends, I got this game when I was a kid. I was probably 96. I was 9 years old, and I went to the local game store. The guy used to sell. It was like the type of mom and pop place where if you slip the guy 20, he would mod your PlayStation with a mod chip so you could play bootleg games. And he sold laser discs and like porn, like just right out in the open. So he had a lot of computer games, and I saw this cover with like what I thought was like a Grim Reaper, and I saw the back and had this guy with the, it's the chess master, this dude with an axe up to his face.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, this looks cool. And it said like realistic blood and gore for the rating. I'm like, oh, I've got to have this. So I begged my mom to get it for me. I did all these chores for like a month, and she finally got me the game, having no idea what it was and how wildly inappropriate it was for someone my age. And it blew my skull apart. I had never seen anything like, I still haven't seen anything like it. So I immediately, all my friends, I'd bring them over and I'd show them this game. To this day, they still bring it up on occasion. They're like, you remember that fucking game? And they'll bring up like a scene, and they're like, I still think about that shit because it's so bad. It's so bad. Like, there is a sequence with a bunch of children just chewing the meat off of their mom's legs.
Nice.
And just saying like, oh, mom, you taste so good. And the mom is just sitting there chain smoking, talking about how children are parasites and motherhood is a lie. Like, it's just so fucked up.
That reminds me, I did get to the, well, I didn't. The walkthrough I was watching got to the school.
Oh,
So
God.
he was talking to the principal, and then I believe went into a classroom. And
Yeah.
that's where I stopped.
Oh, you're in for a treat. That segment that's about to happen is very funny.
So now have you watched this particular walkthrough that you sent me the link for?
I have not. I just know that the game was like super, super obscure. So it kind of came and went. It made, it made some waves with the content. But at that time, it was kind of the Wild West. PC games were the Wild West of the video game industry because there was no regulation as to what you could put in them. And so there was developers out the ass, like indie people putting stuff out. So it kind of got lost in the mix. So then many, many, many years later, like my whole life, I had never met another person who even knew what the hell it was. And then when YouTube came out and video Let's Plays started to happen, somebody randomly dug this game up and did a playthrough, and no one could believe that it was a real game. So it kind of became notorious for that. And then a friend of mine, Arno, who's a fellow from, I want to say the Netherlands. I can't fucking remember. He's going to kill me for this. I found a Facebook fan page for Harvester that had like 20 people on it, and he was running it. So I joined it and started talking to him, and he was so excited that someone else knew what Harvester was. He has since tracked down every actor that played in that game. The guy who created it, who disappeared after this game came out, his career just gone. He disappeared. He tracked him down. He's interviewed all these people at length and started this giant community, and they actually got the game re-released on GOG and Steam. They found out who owned the rights and basically saved it from disappearing forever unless you had an original copy with, like, I actually have my childhood copy, and then I have a sealed copy that I got many years ago, but this goes for like $500-600 now. Like, it's a very, very sought after PC game. but it's beautiful to see people doing like fan art for this, and there's tons of YouTube videos of it now. So I'm not sure which particular Let's Play that is, but there's a lot of them out there, and you can find tons of information on the game. It's all out there. People are still like, what the fuck is this game?
Man, you're making me more and more excited to finish watching this playthrough.
Yeah, it's fucking wild. And the thing is too, you can do so many different things. Like there's puzzles and there's things that you have to do in order. It's the whole idea. The point of the game is you need to get to the lodge, which is like kind of like a like an Elks Lodge, or like the water buffalo, the Order of the Water Buffalo. Like it's that type of thing. It's the central location of the town, and everyone keeps saying the lodge has the answers. You have to join the lodge. In order to join the lodge, you have to pass a series of initiation tests. So they give you like relatively innocent tasks, that maybe they're not so innocent, but like, some petty vandalism, that kind of stuff. But then the repercussions of them, it just ends up getting worse and worse and worse. So you can play ball and you can do these things and solve the problems, like solve the puzzles, or you can just go and fucking kill the person. And if you play your cards right, or if you blackmail the sheriff, you can get away with it. So there's so many different avenues and different things you can do. And like, my recommendation to anyone who's playing it is use the quick save function while you're talking to people, because there's certain points in the game where if you say the wrong thing or you go down a certain path, you will die and you'll have to restart. So I would always save it during conversations and then just kind of see what all the different branches would lead to, because the shit's hilarious and super trippy and whacked out a lot of the time. So there's so much stuff, like it's so hard to cover in one video because there's so many different paths and shit. And then eventually when you get to the lodge, then the game takes on, like, there's more combat and that kind of stuff. And that's a whole nother animal, but it is super fucking weird.
Well, I was going to ask you about replaying. If you would go through and, take this conversational branch and do this thing and see where that led, and then go back and try, okay, make this choice instead and see where that would lead.
Yes. So there's only really, when it comes down to it, there's actually only, I think, like 2 choices in the game that actually affect the outcomes. There's 2 different endings. And it's pretty obvious what the choice is, like, what the point when that happens. But the bulk of the game is just the dialogue. I mean, realistically, you could blitz through the game in probably an hour and a half if you knew where to go. But the joy of it is all the voices. Every character you talk to, they have live actors like talking and performing these parts, and the conversations are so goddamn weird and hilarious. And it's just, at different days you'll go back to like the barber shop, and if you go there on Tuesday, they'll have different things to say than they did on Wednesday or Thursday. So I mean, there's just hours and hours and hours of conversations you can have with people, and little offshoot things you can do, and just weird jokes and all sorts of shit like that. So I mean, I've probably beat the game a dozen times in my life. Like, I'll just randomly pop it on just for a couple hours just to go and just screw with stuff and show people, because they don't believe me. They're like, no, it can't be that bad. And they're like, oh my God, you weren't joking.
There, in the playthrough I'm watching, he goes to the diner, and there was a point, and so far it's the only time this has happened, where he has the woman that he's talking to, Edna, I guess, repeats the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think he picked, whoever's playing the game, picked one of the conversational choices, and she had this long rambling thing. And then a little bit later, he did the thing where he typed in something, and he ended up getting the exact same response from that. But I did like the point where she sort of zones out and starts talking really weird shit about the lodge.
Uh-huh.
In a very monotone voice, and then comes back to herself and is like, were we talking about so-and-so?
Yeah, and everybody, the stock answer everybody gives you when you ask about your amnesia, everyone says, well, you always were a kidder, Steve.
Yeah, you're a kidder.
And it's just like, it's just really weird, because it's all this very wholesome, like 50s sitcom world with just this really, really twisted, dark underbelly. And I just go play it. It's so fucking whacked out.
We went to the TV station too, and it's creepy that the things he's saying are on the cue cards.
Yep.
Every once in a while, they'd cut to the guy holding the cue cards. I think he had a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. And it has the things that Steve is saying.
Yep. It's really, really bizarre stuff.
I haven't even gotten to the super crazy stuff, apparently, and it's already just weird. The graphics, like you said, the just pictures of meat that the guy has on the wall. And maybe it was just me, but I thought the curtains in their kitchen looked like bacon.
Yeah.
And the music that's playing, everything that I've seen so far is just off kilter, like a couple degrees off.
Yep.
And then some of it's more than
and it just gets so much worse. There's one part of the game. It's like one of this random. You end up in a kitchen, and there's just body parts just everywhere, and then there is just a pot that is filled with dead children. And if you click on you click on the, you can click to investigate things, and he says, you know what they say, a watched baby never boils, or something like that. Like, it's just so fucked up.
Oh, well, so early in the game, probably one of the freakiest things that I've seen so far is when he's in the kitchen talking to his mother, and there's the baby in the kitchen.
Oh, God.
And it starts crying, and she smacks the baby. I thought I blinked or something, but then it's got like spider legs in its mouth and a wasp on its forehead. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
The baby eats a tarantula or something that climbs on it, and then I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a follow up to that is so hideous.
Well, that's when his mom told him to go talk to the wasp lady.
Yeah, and there's a fun part of the wasp woman too, a little optional thing. If you decide you want to kill her, that is a really fucking bizarre thing.
Well, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see the choices that, again, whoever's doing this playthrough, interesting to see the choices that he makes. Or she. I don't know who's doing it.
Yeah, it's so hard to talk about this game without giving more stuff away, but like whatever you think it is, it's 100 times worse. And it's just so gleefully fucked up, and it's super satirical. It's very, very surreal, very weird. It's super funny. Like it's my favorite game of all time. Like, I absolutely adore it. It would not be made today. There's no chance in hell they would ever make this game now. Like I said, it ruined the career of the guy who made it. He literally disappeared after it came out. Although Arno did find
bullshit on that.
What's that?
I said I call bullshit on that. I mean, I'm assuming it was because this game came out, it's a game.
Yeah, I mean, when I say he disappeared, I don't mean like he vanished, like under mysterious circumstances. He just dropped off the radar and he just quit the gaming industry. Like, it just did not do him any favors. I mean, he was obviously trying to push buttons, like, clearly. Yeah, and the game, it's a point-and-click adventure game, so it's clunky as fuck. It's badly designed in a lot of places. The combat's super clunky. Like, it's all part of the charm. Like, I grew up playing those types of games, so, you prepare yourself for that. But it's like, I think it's maybe $5.99 on GOG.com, so you can download it. It's ported for new consoles or for new systems. Steam has it. I think they've got, like, extras like the soundtrack and a bunch of other crap that come with it. It's super worth checking out. At the very least, look it up on YouTube and watch the videos of it if you are interested. But it comes from a time when games were a lot more unique than they are now.
Well, I will say, my tolerance for gore and offensive material is, I have seen a Serbian film, and I like it.
Yes, I love a Serbian film. It's a great movie. It's not an enjoyable movie, but it's a good movie.
Right. It's hard to say I like it, but I don't know how else to put it. I own a copy. I will rewatch it.
I own two.
But yeah, it's definitely not an enjoyable film. It's easy to see why some people would be offended by it. But it's just a movie. This is just a game.
Yes, and I think this game is it's not disturbing like Serbian film is disturbing. Like it's all played for camp. Like obviously the game is super out there. But it deals with a lot of extremely offensive subject matter. But you know, it's all
right.
in good fun.
We're going to create right now. We are going to create a new measurement, a new scale. We're going to call it the Edward Lee scale.
Okay.
Which runs from 1 to 10 headers. How many headers on the Edward Lee scale does Harvester get?
For a video game, I would say it's a 10 header out of 10 headers. It's not as graphic as an Edward Lee. I mean, there's points that are, but I mean, they don't show, like, when I say there's a lot of sex and stuff, I mean, there's not like full penetration or anything like that. Like, it's not porn. But actually, I don't even know if there's any. No, there's some nudity in here. It's not a lot, but I mean, there's large portions of the game that involve BDSM and sex dolls and all sorts of stuff like that. And maybe it involves your mom too. It's unless you find that out. But it's the whole game is rooted very firmly in satire. So it makes it much like Ed Lee's stuff. It makes it a lot easier to swallow. It's not serious. It's not trying to be like. It's not trying to like. It's trying to disturb you, but Edward Lee is always doing it with a wink. You know, That's what makes it palatable, and I think that that's what Harvester does. Like, it's not trying to be like a mean, ugly game that makes you want to like kill yourself. It's not like depressing or anything like that. It's just very dark and twisted. But it's mostly it's hilarious. At least I think it's hilarious. I don't know what that says about me. But if you'd like to find out more about the game, go on Facebook and look up the Harvester fan page. There is a ridiculous amount of interviews and information and behind the scenes stuff that Arno has tracked down. He actually has a YouTube channel, The Harvester Show, where he has been given this treasure trove of behind the scenes materials by all the developers, like original sketches, level designs, all this shit. And he goes through it episode by episode and just talks about the stuff that didn't make it into the game. And, you know, the voice actors and the all sorts of shit. Like, it's exhaustive amounts of material. I wish he would write a book about it, honestly. I think that would be phenomenal. But I would highly recommend checking that out if you want to hear more about the game or are interested after you play it or watch it.
Absolutely. I'll see if I can't throw a couple links in the description for some of that stuff.
Very good. Yeah, it's good stuff. He's a good guy too, and like it's I've never met someone whose passion and fandom of something was so pure. Like, he genuinely just loves this game, and the fact that he is from like the Netherlands and played it somehow, like, that just blows my mind. That's how far of a reach this had in 1996, like before the internet was really a thing, and you know, it's just crazy.
All right. Well, before we move on, any final thoughts? That felt kind of final, but any last words?
I'll see you at the lodge.
Oh, I don't know if I can. I got to get my application.
Yes, you do.
And then I got to make sure I get my meat.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. Well, I'm definitely gonna finish watching that playthrough when I have the time. Because yeah, it's weird. It's weird. All right. So let's see. Was there anything else that you and I just need to chat about? I'm trying to think of anything I've seen you talking about on Facebook or anywhere, or anything I've picked up. Do you have your copy of The Seven? All right, I'll take that as a yes.
Just got it from the man himself a couple weeks ago. We went to the Frank Frazetta Museum and he gave me a copy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. You got the fancy one. I got the paperback.
I was going to buy the paperback and then he just handed me that. I was like, oh, I will take the hardback. Thank you.
How was the Frank Frazetta Museum?
Very cool. It's wild to see, like, he painted most of his stuff in like a night. Like his son runs the museum and he was telling us like he would literally put the kids to bed, and then he would just paint one of those paintings overnight, and then when they'd wake up, he'd just have a new canvas for a book cover. Like, that just blows my fucking mind.
When I was a kid, before I knew any better, I had one or two Frank Frazetta art books. I don't know if they were called poster books back then, because they were just maybe coffee table sized.
Yeah.
And I tore all of the pages out, and one entire wall of my room was the pages from that Frank Frazetta book.
Yep, that's actually what Brian was talking about when we were there. And his son, they were saying that when the books started coming out with the covers on them, people would rip the covers off at the store and steal them to hang them on the wall. And that's how Frank Frazetta got all of his work, because they're like, oh wow, people want these pictures. Like, and Keen was saying, he's like, that's how I started reading these books, because the covers were so fucking cool.
Yeah.
So it was real wild to see like the originals of like paintings of this shit, and like they had his original easel and his stool. They had his like workstation preserved in the middle of the museum with his the fuck do you call it? Is with all the paint, his mixing
palette?
Yeah, his palette, his original palette from when he died, still there with the paint dried to it. Like, it was wild. It was very, very cool to see all that. And it's actually in Frank Frazetta's backyard. Like, the museum is literally next door to the house that he grew up in. And there was pictures, and this is in East Stroudsburg in PA, which is about an hour from me. We had done the Pennsylvania Independent Short Film Festival there a couple of years at this little podunk town in the middle of nowhere. I know that Frank Frazetta's other son has a this badass Halloween shop there with these giant animatronics and stuff in it. So I knew that was all there, but I had no idea that Frank Frazetta literally lived like a block away. There's pictures of Clint Eastwood, Steven Spielberg, George Lucas standing in their backyard next to this building, because like when they hired him to do all their posters and stuff, he never left town. They came to him. So he lived in the middle of this little bumfuck Pennsylvania town, and like Hollywood went and courted him. It's just crazy. I was like, oh my God, like Steven Spielberg was standing right here. And like this town has like 10 buildings in it. And I was like, wow, that's crazy.
I like to have certain editions of certain books.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have all the Bantam, I think it's Bantam Tarzan, certain edition, because I want those covers.
Yep.
Same with the John Carter, but it's the Conan books. I want the Frazetta covers.
100%.
Those are the ones that I want. I had jigsaw puzzles of Frazetta's work that I would put together and then shellac and slap up on the wall. Just amazing stuff. I'm looking at my stack of Conan books, and I don't have nearly as many as I want. But then that's always the case with everything.
Well, of course. But yeah, you gotta come down and visit sometime, man. We can go to the museum. It's really fucking cool.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah, okay, so you got your 7. I'm guessing you haven't read it yet.
No, I've been so far behind. Right now, what I'm reading is The Boys by Clint Howard and Ron Howard. It's their memoir, growing up, which is really, really nice. Very, very candid, like supremely candid. Like Ron Howard talking about how old he was when he started jerking off, candid. And I'm like, wow, that's weird. I didn't think that. I thought Ron Howard was like a real wholesome, like Disney director, but he's making like sex jokes and shit. It's very funny.
He is wholesome because he gets the dirtiness out.
Yeah. yeah. But I'm a huge Clint Howard fan, so I had to buy this book, and it's very interesting to read about their careers and growing up as child actors.
I'll have to check that out. I just read Elvira's memoir.
Yeah, I hear that's really good too. A friend of mine who worked at the Halloween store is obsessed with Elvira. He was getting it.
It is the Forrest Gump of horror host memoirs. And it's, I hate to say name dropping because that's not what it feels like.
Yeah.
But the names, the people that she met when she was a child is, and all right. So I'm going to spoil one little thing, I guess, because this is why I see it as this Forrest Gump type story. So when she was 18, 19, she moved to Italy. She's on her own in Italy. I think her sister at this point came to stay with her. So it's just these two young ladies from the heartland of America over in Italy by themselves, walking around. They see this big crowd and they're pushing through to see what's going on. And Cassandra Peterson sees someone she knows from Vegas. Now, first of all, what are the chances of that?
Mm-hmm.
So she goes and she's talking to him, and she's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm working for Federico Fellini, or Fellini, excuse me. We're making a movie. Hey, do you want to be in it?" And all of a sudden, she's in a bunch of Fellini films.
Wow.
And I'm like, how does that happen? And the whole thing is stories like that.
Yeah, that's wild.
Just antiquing with Queen.
Yeah.
Minus Freddie Mercury because he was jealous, but I'm just like, this is amazing. This is craziness. And it's got that Elvira snark
of
throughout.
Course.
So yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was a crazy read.
I'll have to pick that up.
All righty. So we talked a little bit about the documentary.
Yes, Brilliant Terror.
Yes. So you mentioned the film fest that it's going to be playing at early December?
December 4th through the 6th at the
Okay.
New York City Horror Film Festival.
And then you said possibly some other things you can't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming there's nothing you can say about VOD or actual physical disc release or streaming or anything.
So the directors are talking to distributors right now and sales agents. Right now, they're just focusing on the festival circuit, which because of COVID is going to be largely virtual. So because they played in Australia last week, that was virtual. You know, obviously in London at Fright Fest, it was in person, but there's going to be a lot of that. So people will be able to see it basically VOD, hopefully with some Q&As and stuff. But the plan is hopefully to have a DVD or Blu-ray out with extras and extended interviews and all that kind of jazz sometime in the future. I'm just not sure when, because right now we're still, like I said, it's very early in our festival run. But
all right. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to that.
It's weird. I tell people it's like I mean, they shot my personal life, my professional life, and it's just so weird because it's almost like a highlight reel of the worst moments of my life on there. And they pretty much had 100% access to my life. So they were there when my dad died, my mom was in the hospital, and then, you know, me at the pizza shop and me on the bathroom floor and doing the stall, like with 10-degree weather covered in slime, trying to, you know, wiggle these tentacles and shit. Like it's insanity to see. One of the filmmakers from a Night of Horror Film Festival in Australia, he messaged me and said, "This is the American movie of our generation," which is a monstrous compliment. American Movie is one of the greatest documentaries about filmmaking I've ever seen. So that was really, really amazing. Because the thing about the doc is that it doesn't sugarcoat anything. It's brutally honest, raw look at what it takes to make like a micro budget movie. And that was what I was really trying to get across in my interviews and stuff. I was very upfront and open about the process and how miserable it can be. But the whole documentary, it's not like a depressing look at people like, you know, being miserable. It's a very joyous look. It's like, look at the passion it takes to make this crazy bullshit. And it's, you know, it's very, I'm told, I mean, I'm in it, so I can't really judge because I'm too close to it, but people said it's extremely endearing. And like Fright Fest, Alan Jones, who runs Arrow's Fright Fest, he said that it was the most honest portrayal of independent filmmaking he'd ever seen. So they sent that in as a submission. Within 6 hours, they got an email back from Alan Jones personally saying, "I want to play this for the world premiere." He's like, "I absolutely adored this." And that's huge.
Well, American Movie is a fascinating film.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found, it like I want to laugh at them,
Yep.
but at the same time, I kind of feel bad.
Mhm.
And then also, it's nice to see someone, going after it.
Yeah, doing it, just going out and fucking doing it. And it's crazy. Like it's a very complicated mix of emotions you get from watching that. And I'm not going to say that the Brilliant Terror can, reaches that level, because American Movie is I mean, that is just like absolutely stellar. And no matter how egotistical I become, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm as interesting of a subject as, Mark and his friend. But people are saying that it's in that same vein and they really love it. And I hope that it's a little bit more of a positive portrayal of filmmaking, because I'm not an alcoholic who's addicted to scratch off lottery tickets and is exploiting my family members to get my movie made. But it's more just about the sheer determination and will it takes to get a project going, and just how insane it is, and just how much fun and how awful at the same time everything is. It's just, and there's so many great filmmakers they highlight, so many different perspectives. There's a really, really wonderful part with a female filmmaker who just completely eviscerates half of the indie horror filmmaking world. And it's fucking hilarious. And me being an incredibly jaded son of a bitch, I just laugh my ass off watching it because it's so accurate. But it's just a whole mix of different worlds and stuff, and it's just lovely, lovely, lovely stuff. Like, just beautiful people. I made a lot of great friends by being in the documentary. Paul Hunt and Julie Kaufman, the directors, are very close friends of mine now. I mean, they spent a decade with me, and now, we talk all the time. So it's just a beautiful friendship came out of this. So it was very exciting. And I was a random interview. They were finishing the movie. They found out that I was a local filmmaker because of a local festival, and they wanted to do an interview. I told them no, because I had just broken up with a long-term girlfriend and my life was kind of in shambles. 2 months later, I called and was ready to beg for my place back. I'm like, no, please interview me. I need to do something. They interviewed me. I'm like, wow, I botched that. 2 weeks later, they call me back. They're like, hey, can we do a second interview? And I'm like, oh, they're going to ask me the same shit again because they got bad footage. But they asked me different stuff. And I was like, okay. A few days later, they call me again. And they're like, hey, do you want to go out and get a cup of coffee or something? And I was like, I don't drink coffee, but I'm not stupid. I'm like, yes, absolutely. Went to the diner, and then they're like, so are you working on anything right now that, maybe we could come out on set? And I'm like, oh, yeah, so much stuff. I have so many projects going on. It's a complete lie. Very quickly put together some production stuff, and they came out on set, and then they just started, and that kicked off 10 years of them filming me. And they say that I derailed the entire movie. So then they just completely changed course and started interviewing me all the time. And it was really fucking weird to be with a camera in my face that often.
Now you know how your actors feel.
Yeah, it's super bizarre, because eventually, like, they're, I'm in some of the worst parts of my, like, points in my life, literally, and they're just interviewing me, and it doesn't even register that they're filming. It's just, you just get used to it. It's just not there anymore. It's so weird. And, they fortunately cut out a lot of the darker moments that I had, because they said that it would have been a very different documentary. But there's some raw stuff in there.
I very much look forward to seeing it. So obviously we've mentioned how you're working like crazy at your day job. But is there any creative stuff that you're doing that you can talk about?
I am trying like hell to get back into it. I have one project that was based on a short story I had written, that's kind of about it's about a guy who's a VHS collector, and he finds out this video store that he used to go to as a kid is going out of business. So he goes, and it's kind of a meditation on grief, and it also turns into like a cheesy 80s horror movie because he gets a haunted tape and all sorts of stuff. But his father has just passed away, and a lot of it is about dealing with that. So it's a really personal story, and I really, 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 really want to make this into a movie. I don't know that I'm going to make it into a feature. I keep getting told I should just turn it into a feature, but at the moment, it's going to be a very awkwardly long short film. But it will have some of the flavor of old real splatter stuff. So the gross comedy and like the, you know, funny shit, but it also has some of the darkness and sentimentalness of White Doomsday. So I kind of want to shoot down the middle. So it's not complete crass humor and it's not complete just emotional devastation. It's kind of a mix of the two, which is really what I've always wanted to do. And I feel that now that I've done Doomsday, which I like to call Mike's Depression, the movie, I feel like I'm equipped emotionally and technically to pull this off. So this is going to be a real big turning point for me in my personal projects, because if this goes well, then the next feature I want to make, Masterwork, which is like the most, Brian Keane always says, you know, to write something good, you bleed on the page. Masterwork hits a fucking artery. Like, it's so painfully personal, but it also has that mix of like funny and just really, really, really dark. So that's what Dead Format is the film I'm talking about that I want to make. So I'm hoping to get that off the ground sometime in the next year. I don't think that I've cared so much about a story in years. I mean, the only thing I've ever done that meant this much to me personally was White Doomsday, and that was obviously about my mom being in the hospital and stuff. So I think that it's going to be a very funny movie, but it's also very sad, and I think it's going to really hit people because it's a lot about why nostalgia, like what, it's not just like, oh, it's nostalgia for the video store, but it's kind of the root of it. Like, why do we obsess over this stuff? Like, what is the appeal of this stuff from yesteryear? And that's kind of like the whole character arc with all of these things, and just the idea of what would you give to go back, just even for a minute. Like, I think people are gonna really dig it. I hope. But it's got some cool video store stuff in it and all sorts of shit like that. It's a big love letter to 80s VHS era stuff. So I'm very excited about it.
Well, after White Doomsday, which was on the Film Fest circuit, and I believe won some awards.
Yep, won 8 awards.
So, just 8?
Yeah, I know.
So after that, do you feel pressure when you start to work on the follow-up, or do you start at least in your head with a clean slate? This is a new project; it's got its own pressures. You put White Doomsday's in the past.
Yeah, that's where I'm at now. When I first finished White Doomsday, the pressure was immense. So I was terrified that whatever my follow-up was, because I mean, you know, my old stuff was splatter comedy. It was crass, bloody, you know, goofy shit. Doomsday was ultra, ultra serious. So I feel like when I made that, I alienated the crowd that I had, my original fan base, who loved all the gory, like, stupid shit. But I gained a whole new audience. But like, Doomsday was really where my head, I mean, at the time was, and that's more the type of stuff that I gravitate towards personally. So I was afraid, I wanted to do something fun after Doomsday, because Doomsday was an emotionally devastating process for me, just digging into myself that much, and just the subject matter was very, very dark. So I wanted to do something fun, but I was afraid that if I did something fun, then all the people from the festivals that really liked Doomsday and what I did with that would be like, oh, what the fuck is this? Like, this is like a joke, and vice versa. So I really got caught up in my own head about that. And then I kind of had an epiphany, and I realized that it doesn't matter what I do. No one's going to fucking watch it anyway. So it doesn't fucking matter.
Look, you got one person that's going to, at least one person that's going to watch it.
No, what I mean is, like, you know, in the indie world, everyone, you know, all these indie filmmakers and I've run so many film festivals and I've met so many people, and everyone's got these big pie in the sky dreams. And they're like, oh, we're going to be the next John Carpenter. We're going to be the next this and that. And the sad reality is that almost no one is going to succeed. And when I say that, I personally believe that success is a completely personal measure. Like, I'm very proud of what I accomplished with Doomsday, which has tons of flaws, but I'm proud that I was able to make something like that. And I'm happy with it. It went infinitely further than I ever thought it would. You know, it came out on VHS, DVD, Blu-ray. It was on streaming. Like, it got into fucking Target. Like, it's wild to me. But I'm at a point now where it's like, with Dead Format, I know it's going to be too long to play at festivals. You don't want a 30-minute short film at a festival. It doesn't work. It's hard to program. People don't want to sit through it. But I don't care. I'm doing this because I want to make this movie. Like, this is completely for me. If other people enjoy it, that's awesome. But I'm doing this because it's a story that I need to tell. And that was one of the things when I finished Doomsday. I was like, everyone's like, what's next? And I said, I don't have something that I absolutely want to do right now. And I don't, there's a million reasons to not make a movie. And that's really something in the Brilliant Terror that you'll see. Like, it's such a stressful, horrible way to spend your life. So if I'm going to dedicate 3 years of my life towards making something, it needs to be something that I genuinely care about, not just because I need to strike while the iron's hot. And
Right.
because I had all that attention, it's like, yeah, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I don't know. I want to take a break and live my life. And I will pop my head out of my hermit cave when I'm ready and I have something to say. And I have that again. And now it's just a matter of now I'm working 60-hour weeks at my day job. So, but I want to do that. And I think that's the right reason to make a project. It's not because you think you're going to make money or you're going to be super successful. It's because it means something to you. And unfortunately, filmmaking is a very expensive hobby. Whereas if you wanted to write a book, it doesn't cost a dime. It just costs you your time, which really is a very, very valuable thing as well. But filmmaking eats up your time and money. So it's right. The best of both worlds. But no, I mean, so there's a lot of pressure, but I've talked to so many people that Doomsday resonated with, and the old stuff that I've done resonated with. And I know there's definitely crossover with the fan bases. I mean, but at the end of the day, like, I really don't fucking care. Like, I'm going to make what I want to make, and I'm going to do it because I want to do it. Because the only person that has to live with the shit at the end of the day is me. So I'm just going to blow it out. I'm going to make the best thing I possibly can. And if people enjoy it, that's great. If they don't, I got to recreate a video store from when I was a kid in my living room, and that's reason enough to do it.
Fantastic. I'd love to hear that. All right. So if you care to share, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Facebook is probably the easiest place. Facebook.com/real splatter. Mike Lombardo. I'm on regular Facebook. If you want to stalk me on there. www.realsplatter.com is my production company website. That's real with 2 E's, like a reel of film, because we shoot on digital video, so it makes perfect sense. Most importantly, you can check out The Brilliant Terror. If I believe it's brilliantterrormovie.com. Twitter.com/terrorbrilliant is their Twitter, and all the updates will be on there about where you can see the movie. And you can grab a copy of I'm Dreaming of a White Doomsday because the winter wasteland is coming. It's almost Christmas time. If you like post-apocalyptic horror, which is a thriving subgenre, I'm told, check out White Doomsday. It's available at screamteamreleasing.com. So that beautiful physical media, a full-length documentary on the making of the movie. You can watch me toiling away in misery day by day on this project. Everything from building props to wardrobe to editing, everything is in there. If you're a filmmaker or interested in that stuff, it's, I'm told, an invaluable documentary. Armageddon from the Cheap Seats is what it's called. Commentaries, all that good stuff. Pick it up on there. It's also available Target.com, Barnes & Nobles, Amazon. But you should really buy it from ScreamTeamReleasing.com because you can actually support the filmmakers and the cast and crew that made it. I think I've got nothing else to shamelessly plug, so I'm going to turn it back over to you. Thank you.
All right. Well, hopefully I'll remember to put a whole bunch of links for that stuff in the description below. Mike, thank you very much for being here. It's always makes my heart beat faster.
Well, if I can just get some blood flowing, that's all that matters.
So folks, thank you for watching. If you have any comments or questions, put them in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. I think that's it. I always feel like I'm forgetting something when I get to the end of these. I don't know who's going to be in the next episode, but I will have that in the description below when the time comes. So that's all I've got. Until next time, play more video games.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
And all right, come on. All right. It is not letting me stop the recording.